Hey, I'm Samantha Kareem, your Bold Bitch coach. Let's dive in. So we're gonna be talking about 3 different types of expectations. We're gonna be talking about learned expectations, inherited expectations, and then implicit expectations. So over the next couple of weeks, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm just gonna break down each section of expectations per video. Otherwise, it's gonna be a lot to swallow, a lot to digest, and then a lot to be like, what the fuck is happening in my life, right? So we're gonna take it chunk by chunk. Don't worry, we're gonna take it chunk by chunk and make sure that we give ourselves an opportunity to digest the information. So I have some notes right here. So if you see me kind of lean in and out, it's because I'm looking at my notes, because this is a really heavy topic. And when we go through this, it's really gonna be on the surface level of learned expectations, because in order to dive deeper, it's really going to be helpful for you to sit with the information first and marinate in it, and then start to become aware of what learned expectations you have for yourself as well as for other people. So my subtitle that I talked about was Learned Expectations, How Living in This World Groomed How I Look at Myself. As a 42-year-old woman, I have lived multiple different phases of life. I had my toddlerhood, my childhood, and then going into preteen, teen, college years, married life after college, and then going into business life and going into entrepreneurship after, working for other people and all of that. So my learned experience has come through living all of these different phases at those particular timestamps. So let me get a little bit more, give you a little bit more detail. When I went to college, I was of a particular age, right? I was like 18 to 22, almost 23. I took 4.5 years to go to college. So my lived experience of experiencing college was during 18 to 22, like most people, like many people, but not everybody, right? You might be someone who experienced college between 30 to 40 or older or younger. And that makes a difference, because the way that you have shown up in your life has this consequence to it. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, right, or wrong. But when you show up in a particular way based on your maturity, your learned experience, and now hear me, I'm saying experience up to this point, not expectation. Your learned experience up to those different phases of your life, you start learning a couple of different things, but it matters where you were at the time that you lived into that phase of your life. Because what you got out of that experience, whatever you learned, was a culmination of what you had previously learned, previously lived, previously have gone through, and whatever events have happened in your life. So I'm giving you a little bit of context about mine, because how living in this world groomed my experience was based on the age in which I showed up into these different phases. So let me talk a little bit about each phase. I'm going to go a little bit chronologically of what I've learned to then expect of myself, but also expect of other people, because I went through an experience where I had to take a lesson away, whether it was one that I wanted or one that I was like, fuck, that's a hard life lesson, right? So I'm gonna start with high school, because before then it was really muddy for whatever reason. I learned a lot of things in my childhood, but I'm gonna start in high school because that was really impactful for me. I lived in a military town, and my dad had retired by that point. And that meant we were in a high school with culturally different people, but also in an overcrowded high school, because there was this one high school for the entire population. So there's 50,000 people in this city from Sierra Vista, Arizona. And there was one high school. There was like 2,800 people in my school. And at the time, my graduating class, when I started, was 800 and something people, and then it became over 600. That's a lot of people in a graduating class. So living through that experience, y'all, we're about to share some stories right now. In high school, I knew things about sexuality. I learned things about like what I liked, what I was attracted to in men or boys at that time, or young gentlemen, and some not so young gentlemen. And then also I realized what I didn't want. But one of the things that happened to me in that time was I lost my virginity. And I was 17 at the time. And the guy that I had lost my virginity to, this is the first time I'm actually sharing this story. This is kind of crazy. This is kind of fun. So we're going to explore this together. So I lost my virginity to this guy at 17. His reputation wasn't the greatest. He had admittedly been active with multiple people. And for whatever reason, I found myself drawn to this guy because he showed me some love. He paid attention to me. He made me feel pretty. He made me feel smart. And I wasn't unpopular in school, but I also wasn't popular. I knew a lot of people, but I kind of hung out with, my friends might kill me for saying this, but the nerd crowd. They were the smart people. And I was like, I want to be the smart people. And they were amazing people too. So I hung out with them. But that phase of being attracted to someone who paid attention to me, do you know what I learned from that? Is that I liked people who noticed me. How do you think that plays out, right? If we just take a step back for a second. I like it when people notice me. I like it when someone pays attention to me. I like when I get attention. It's starting to form some expectations, right? Of what I have of other people, what I have of myself, how I should act in order to get that attention. So we're sexually active together. And then the next week at school, because this was in the middle of the school year, my friend comes up to me and he's like, yo, Sam, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to name his name, blah, blah, is telling everyone that you guys slept together. And I looked at him like, what? Now, we didn't even run in the same circles. So I felt like I just got introduced to a whole group of people I didn't even know. And my embarrassment level was through the roof. But what I learned in that moment to expect of other people is I can't trust these guys. All I know is I'm embarrassed and I should have not done what I done. What I learned from that experience was a lot of shame. I learned that I should have listened to my parents. I should have done what they said and stayed abstinent. I should have not drank that night. I should have not done all of these things because it led to this one moment of humility. And it was like jaw-dropping because the expectations of myself leading up to that point was I get straight A's. I'm a person who gets straight A's. I live my life by the book. I didn't lie to my parents, except for this one, right? Like I didn't lie to them in the sense that I never snuck out of the house. When they asked me where I went, I told them actually where I went because I was too scared to do anything that put me in an unsafe place that they couldn't come and help me. And so my expectation of myself was to be truthful, was to get good grades, to do the honest thing, but also kind of keep my head down because I didn't have a lot of confidence in that time. So I hung out with the people that I felt I really related to, but like loved me for me. And so when I found out that this person was now telling the football team that we had had sex, and this was now everywhere, it felt like it was everywhere. The expectation that I learned in that minute was, see, shouldn't have done something you weren't supposed to do. You can't trust them. And now you're doing stupid things that you can't even trust yourself. And I took that learned experience and made it a learned expectation that I can't trust myself with people who pay attention to me or make me feel special because I might do something stupid, because I might cross a boundary, because I might do something unexpected that wasn't in my plan, because I wanted to people please. It was a hard lesson, but one that I became conscious of because I was like, oh, that's partly where that came from. It's a huge moment in my high school experience. So now we fast forward to my job. I was doing social work after college, and I had a degree in biochemistry and psychology. I couldn't do, listen, I was pre-med. You can't do shit with biochemistry if you don't go beyond undergrad. You can't, there's nothing to do. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing pre-med. I am not a researcher. Psychology it is. What can I do? Let's do some social work. So I applied for all these jobs, got a job, loved it. And in that time, there was a lot of political climate change. The governor was changing here in Arizona and all that stuff. I ended up losing my job after about I think like maybe 2.5 years doing social work, something like that. And I had 2 different social work positions, but the second one is where I lost my job. And from that moment, I became really scared because I was like, I have no income coming in. Social services were being cut. And so I was like, I'm going to go get a job as a server at Cheesecake Factory. It was the fastest money I could think of, was to apply in the service industry and go. And there's 2 things I took away from this. One, I am very resourceful. The minute something bad happened in my life, I knew that about myself, that I was like, this bad thing happened. You're super adaptable, Samantha. Go get a job. Go get any job right now, because right now it doesn't matter. You need to pay your rent. You need to feed yourself. And my parents were there to support me, but I wanted to rely on me, right? So losing my job and then having to go to another job like this and not even second guessing what I had to do in that moment taught me that I can expect from myself that I can be resourceful, because I was willing to do what it took to take care of me. The second thing that I learned was, let me see how I want to phrase it. The second thing that I learned was like kind of interesting. It was like a little bit of conflating. I learned that no matter what degree you have, it's not secure. Like I had a degree in psych, and I went and I found a job using my psychology degree, and then I lost my job. So I came to expect that jobs aren't secure because it felt so out of my hand. I depended on someone else to pay me. I also depended on someone else to get funding through the government, of which fell through. And I was like, my degree doesn't mean shit. Great. So not only does my degree not mean anything anymore, I expected nothing again from my degree. And you know what? I didn't use my degree ever again. I went on to every other job. I never went back to social work. Never used my degree again. And then that it's not secure to work for other people. And the third thing I learned, I know I mentioned 2, was that was Cheesecake Factory. It was hard money and shit money. It was awful. It was awful. And nothing against the company. Maybe I wasn't the best server, whatever it was. I was walking away 4-hour shifts, taking $20 home. Who can pay that? So all I did when I walked into Cheesecake Factory, my expectation was, I'm not going to make money. This is going to be a shitty shift. And how am I going to make more money? So I'm going to stop at those 2 experiences. Otherwise, this video will go on forever. But I want you to see that the way that you initially show up in your life as you go through all these kind of milestone events that happen, they change the way that you come to expect yourself to show up and the way that you expect yourself to show up, but it also changes the way you expect other people to show up. But it also changes how you now perceive your environment. Because I perceived my degree to be useless. I perceived my environment to not be able to take care of me anymore. I perceived that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make enough money. And it was like, I was like, why am I even working? Right? So the main things that I started to take away was I let those experiences either shape me, groom me in a positive way, in a optimistic way, or I allowed it to shape me in a pessimistic way, in a way that saw the negative. I mean, look at my expectation of my degree. It vanished. No more. There's no more expectation of my degree. It's shit. I can't get a job. I definitely can't keep a job with it because of everything going on. So I want to ask you something. What experiences in your life have you learned? Like, think of like maybe 2 or 3 milestone events in your life through different phases of your life, right? Because if I went to college now, or if I went and I lost my business now, and I went to go be a cheesecake factory server right now, what would my expectations be showing up in that environment now versus 17 years ago, right? So think about 2 to 3 events in your life. What was your expectation of yourself leading up to the event and other people? Expectation of yourself and expectation of other people, and then what shifted after that event? On each of those events, do that work. What was your expectation of yourself and other people and your environment leading up into that first event? And then the same thing leading up into that second event. And what learned expectations are you, from those 2 things, are you still carrying with you today? Are they optimistic ones? Are they pessimistic ones? Are they ones that push you forward in a way that empower you? Or are they ones that make you feel resigned, that make you feel cynical, that make you question your actions because you're just like, well, after that, I don't trust anything, right? So I want you to go back and reflect on that and see what is laying there in this undercurrent of your life that you may have not been paying attention to, but has become actually a huge part of your decision making. Thank you for taking the time with me today. Do this exercise. It's really, really important. If you do this exercise, I promise you, just write it down. You will get so much out of this because it's just you conversating with yourself and you becoming more aware of how you approach your own life. I want to invite you to my masterclass this coming Thursday. It is at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually it's at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but this Thursday, May 15th, it's at 9 a.m. I want you to come and join me. It is called the Unapologetic Woman Journey. We'll be covering the hidden ways you drain your power, the 5-step framework to reclaiming your confidence, control, and freedom, and then how you can start to build success in your personal life as well as your business life on your terms. Make sure you check out the link below in order to register for this masterclass. And as always, I'm holding space for your bold bitch energy.